Hello, everyone. Welcome to part 4 of this Community Schools Foundations module. We're going to dive deeper into the third of 4 pillars of community schools. As a reminder, these questions guide our learning today. What framework is a community school based on? And how do we shift toward a community school model? If you've been watching this series chronologically, this image may be quite familiar by now. These are the 4 pillars of community schools, which is part of the framework of California Community Schools. We'll be discussing integrated student supports today. You may be wondering why we've decided to discuss these pillars in the order that we have. Part 2 of this series focused on collaborative leadership and practices because we believe that that pillar is the foundation and driver of the work to support the other pillars. That's why we started with collaborative leadership and practices. Part 3 of this series focused on active family and community engagement, which reinforces the collaborative leadership and practices pillar. Without active family and community engagement, a school cannot employ true collaborative leadership practices in the context of community schools, because the important stakeholders' voices need to be recognized, acknowledged, and promoted. Now, in this part 4 video, we are going to delve into integrated student supports, because once you have students, families, and communities engaged, you can begin identifying the kinds of supports students need and integrate them into the community school. According to the Learning Policy Institute's description, the integrated student supports pillar emphasizes that a dedicated staff member coordinates support programs to address out-of-school learning barriers for students and families. In addition, mental and physical health services support student success. While this description may not seem robust, it is straightforward in meaning. A staff member, such as a community school coordinator, creates the partnerships with community-based providers and connects students and families with available resources. So, in order to shift to a community school model, we need to first start by hiring a community school coordinator. It's important to note that this pillar addresses out-of-school learning barriers and utilizes a holistic approach to successfully support students. The emphasis is that academics are inextricably tied to a student's health, physical, emotional, and academic needs and well-being, the whole child. In what other ways can we shift toward a community school? Let's start with the needs assessment. This tool centers students' and families' voices. They are telling schools what they need, which allows schools to provide focused solutions to meet those needs. This data can drive ongoing strategic planning for your school sites. It's important to note that integrated student supports is an evolving pillar as it responds to the needs of the students, families, and community, and those needs might change over time. For example, initially, families may identify that their children need optical services or tutoring help. Later, they may identify that mental health services are a priority. And in another phase, they may advocate for themselves and voice that they need access to health clinics or learning opportunities themselves to help them thrive. Re-implementing the needs assessment is important to ensure stakeholder needs are continually assessed. This is the why of community schools, to make schools more equitable places for students to learn and thrive. Often in tandem with the needs assessment is an assets assessment, or what may be called asset mapping. Conducting an assets assessment recognizes assets and solutions that may already exist within the community. It leverages the right partnerships and resources to meet expressed needs. Asset mapping is also crucial for active family and community engagement, the pillar we discussed previously. If assets already exist in the community, then families and communities can be more involved. And when they're more involved and engaged, they may feel a greater sense of ownership in the school and its mission, vision, and purpose. That's the shift toward a community school. So now let's briefly talk about the whole school involvement. This means that the whole school has a role in uplifting and addressing the holistic needs of students and families. The whole school is aware of available resources, supports, and solutions. This would require coordinated and effective communication, which may also be a shift in how things are done. To clarify what we mean by whole school, this includes administrators, teachers, classified staff, office personnel, students, families, community members, partnering organizations, union reps, everyone who has a stake in the community school. When you bring all stakeholders together and get the whole school involved, we have a higher sense of collective efficacy, the belief that together we can make incredible things happen, such as making schools places where all students and their families and communities can thrive. So now that we've provided an overview of the Integrated Student Supports pillar, we'd like you to have a discussion if you are participating in teams. Feel free to divide yourselves into pairs or small groups of 3 to 4. If you are participating individually, please reflect on the following questions and write your thoughts in the note-taking handout provided with this webinar. We do encourage you to use norms of collaboration to foster positive discussion and facilitation. Before you discuss in groups, decide which norm you will adhere to. Feel free to share your chosen norm with your partner or group, or type it in the chat if you are video conferencing. Here are the questions. Number 1, what integrated student supports does your school currently provide to meet student needs? If some student needs are not currently met, what assets in the community could help meet the need? What next steps could you take to identify further needs, provide supports, and communicate these to the whole school community? Pause the video here for about 10 minutes to discuss with your partner or group or to write your reflections. Feel free to take more time if you need. This is the end of part 4 of this series. Click on the next video, part 5, for a discussion on the last pillar of community schools.